Last week we started a brand new sermon series called Trees, where we're looking at different trees in the Bible and how they kind of play a central role in a bunch of different stories to help us understand things about our actual life. So today we are talking about the fig tree.
A proper gentleman eats one cookie at a time.
But these aren't cookies. They're Newtons.
Not the fig Newton. This is a fig Newton. They're delicious. It's been a long time since I've had one. But we're talking about the fig tree. This tree is going to help us explore the topic of our temper. More specifically, losing our temper. So temper is defined as a characteristic cast of mind or state of feeling or frame of mind at a particular time, usually dominated by a single, strong emotion. That doesn't make anything any clearer. Now, we have had some hot temperature days these last couple weeks. And did you know that the Latin word temp, T-E-M-P, refers to time and measuring? So the temperature measures the heat at certain times, and temper measures our disposition or our emotion at certain times. What comes to mind when you hear the phrase, lost my temper? Or what stories come to mind? Pause the video and chat about that with the people you're watching with, ponder it for yourself, or call a message a friend and ask them. So people who are balanced can be even-tempered, we call them. And people who get angry all the time, maybe we say they have a bad temper. So when we lose our temper, we're talking about losing control of our disposition or emotion. The temperature rises and the thermometer can blow. So let's play a game. It's popular on TikTok, popular TikTok game called Put a Finger Down. So you're gonna hold up all 10 of your fingers and then put a finger down for every statement that I say that you can say yes to. Here we go. Put a finger down if you have thrown something when you were upset. Put a finger down if you have said something you regretted. Put a finger down if you've had to apologize for something you did when you were angry. Put a finger down if you've ever embarrassed yourself when you were mad. Put a finger down if you've ever punched an object when something didn't go your way. Put a finger down if you've cried because you're so angry. Put a finger down if you've ever condescended or were rude to someone online. Put a finger down if you've ever broken something when you were angry. Put a finger down if you've ever road raged. Put a finger down if you have ever shut down or iced people out because you're mad at them. It's important for us to recognize that we all have times when we lose our temper. We get angry, we get frustrated. But again, how do we choose to respond to these situations and even to ask ourselves and ask God to help us see why we respond the way we do? So how do you decide how you're going to respond when things don't go your way? And how have your responses to those things affected others? Pause the video and chat about this with the people you're watching with. Ponder the question for yourself, or call or text a friend and ask them. So this is a fig tree. You'll see the leaves here get a little bit bigger as the season goes on, and you'll see a little bit of fruit in here. Let's see if we can find, there's a fig just growing a little bit right now, and these are little figs that are just starting right in here. And so when it talks about Adam and Eve in the Bible about sowing fig leaves, they would have had these, or maybe not exactly these, but very similar to this. And today we are going to look at a story from Jesus' life found in the writings of the book of Mark, chapter 11, verses 12 to 24. And in this writing, Jesus begins by cursing a figless fig tree. So it doesn't have any figs on it. And then he proceeds to the temple, where in an act of defiance to the temple's unjust actions, he clears the place of money changers and merchandise tables, knocking over furniture and making quite a scene. It's worth considering the context, though. Jesus in this story is between his triumphal entry and where everyone's focused on him and they're crowding around him and cheering him on, and then the Last Supper, where he last sits with his friends, knowing that one friend is going to turn him in to be arrested, tortured, and killed. It's possible he maybe also had a bit of a stress headache in this time too. So let's hear what Mark has to say. It says, "The next day after leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. From far away he noticed a fig tree in leaf, so he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing except leaves, since it wasn't the season for figs. So he said to it, 'No one will ever again eat your fruit.' His disciples heard this. They came into Jerusalem after entering the temple, and he threw out those who were selling and buying there. He pushed over the tables used for currency exchange and the chairs of those who sold doves, and he didn't allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He taught them, 'Hasn't it been written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you've turned it into a hideout for crooks.' The chief priests and legal experts heard this and tried to find a way to destroy him. They regarded him as dangerous because the whole crowd was enthralled at his teachings. When it was evening, Jesus and his disciples went outside the city. And early in the morning, as Jesus and his disciples were walking along, they saw the fig tree withered from the root up. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, 'Teacher, look how the fig tree you cursed has dried up.' Jesus responded to them and said, 'Have faith in God. I assure you that whoever says to this mountain, 'Be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' and doesn't waver but believes that what is said will really happen, it will happen. Therefore I say to you, whatever you pray and ask for, believe that you will receive it, and it will be so for you." Now, what was the main offense of the fig tree? It didn't have figs, but it wasn't supposed to, naturally speaking. It says it wasn't the season for it to grow figs. It didn't have something to offer when Jesus wanted it. I'm not sure what else we could say about it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And Jesus is hungry, and he sees the tree hoping to get some figs. But nope, no figs. This resonates with me when I go to the cupboard to get some cookies, and alas, my children have eaten the last ones. Hey, where are all the cookies?
We ate the rest.
See what I'm talking about? The kids are way quicker at getting to food than their parents. I remember my dad would get mad about this and would say, "I buy food and you guys just eat it up." Well, of course we do. It's food. That's what it's there for. Yet now that I'm a dad, I think I get what he was saying. I didn't move quick enough. My kids got there first. What I wanted at the time is now not available. Of course, the difference is that I probably have a bunch of other things to choose from to eat. Jesus, not so much. So the garden is starting to grow. We got some good leafiness to our tomato plants so far, but no real substance yet. What do you think about Jesus' reaction to the fig tree? He says, "No one is ever going to eat of your fruit again." Is that reasonable? Is it alarming? Does Jesus just need a Snickers bar?
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
See, the fig tree and Jesus' reaction to it can help us to think about our own temper and our response to situations. There's something bigger going on here for one. When Jesus clears the temple and he curses the barren fig tree, both of these situations, we see a side of Jesus not often looked at. But I think both had significance as to the spiritual condition of the nation of Israel. There was corruption. It was imperfect, unfruitful, and dishonest. One lesson of the fig tree is that we should bear spiritual fruit. like it says in Galatians chapter 5, 22 and 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against things like this. We should not just give an appearance of religious goodness and leafiness, but fruitfulness. If I grow this the whole summer and not one tomato plant comes, what's the point? See, the fig tree would often bear fruit before it flowers and gets leafy. So the fruit starts growing, then the leaves get full, and because they're both green, the fig and the leaf, you can't really notice the fruit until it's exactly ripe. So also the tree generally would have 2 or 3 harvests in the year. So Jesus, being a little ways off, seeing the leafy tree from afar, maybe would have assumed that there could be some fruit on it. So Jesus sees a tree, supposed to bear fruit, and it doesn't. So let's talk more about Jesus' reaction. I have a question for you. How do you feel when you're in the presence of someone having a strong negative reaction to what's going on? So you're around somebody and then they curse a tree or shout at somebody or do something that is intense. How do you respond? Take a minute to pause the video and chat about this with the people you are watching with, or ponder the question yourself, or text a friend and ask them. I know when I sometimes lose my cool or lose my temper, I can get loud. And I know that the people around me, particularly my family, don't really like that. They want to scatter. They want to avoid me. They don't want to be close to a possible explosion. We don't really know why Jesus zaps the fig tree out of existence. There is a possibility that it's meant to mirror the fruitless temple where he finds himself next. We do come away with the realization that Jesus has a pretty strong opinion about how things should operate based on their intended purposes. Fig trees, when in leaf, should have figs on them. Temples, when consecrated to God, should have worshipers, not cutthroat vendors and thieves, people that are trying to take advantage of others. What do you think Jesus expects to see in the life of someone that calls themselves a Christian? Someone who worships God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, loving others more than themselves? Someone who acts justly, loves mercy, and walks humbly with God? Someone who works in a peaceable way to make earth just like heaven? Somebody who works to bring the glory of God and the fruit of the Spirit into the hour-by-hour moments of other people's lives? Jesus turns this into a teaching moment, connecting the disciples and us to the reality of big prayer, speaking out the desires of God's heart for things that we cannot possibly do on our own. Let's call it the big ask. We always ask Google all kinds of stuff, but asking God something that is beyond expectation, something beyond that we could possibly do in and of ourselves. What is Jesus's motivation in these temper-losing situations like the temple or the fig tree? Well, at first you might see it as an overreaction, or is it an impassioned response to what Jesus knows God longs for and wants to see as a reality on earth? You see, Jesus' response to this tree is motivated by the desire to see fruit and an opportunity to help his friends, the disciples, see that anything is possible. With faith, one can move mountains, ask big, bring life and growth where God desires it. When you respond negatively to things not being the way you'd like them to be, what's your motivation for that response? Is it because you are irritated, not getting your way? Generally, that's my reason for losing my temper. But it could be that you honestly believe God would want more, or God would want less, or God would want different? Is God the motivation for any of the things we do in our lives? What does it look like for a person to be in leaf but not bearing fruit? Can you tell the difference? Well, probably a fruit-bearing person will feed others. A fruit-bearing person will give a means of keeping another person's body and soul together. A person in leaf without fruit, well, they may look healthy, they may have the green, but they're not offering anything for the existence of others. You know, when it comes to the things in our life, the fruit, we've learned to take sort of a you live your life, I'll live mine approach to living alongside each other as people who want to follow the ways of Jesus and live the love of God. But if you saw something spiritually inappropriate or out of place in the life of a friend or family member, would you have the strength to nourish them in a way of love? What would be your motivation? To point out wrong? I really hope not. Maybe just to be right? I would suggest no. What would Jesus's motivation be? I think it would be for a person to know the truth, that the God of all things loves them dearly and has great things for them to experience. Would that be your motivation or something else? I have a question for you. What is something that you have lost your temper over? How could it be for teaching and creating something good instead of breaking someone or something? Take a minute to pause the video and chat about this with the people you're watching with. Ponder this question yourself or text a friend and ask them. We can get angry. We can't take it anymore sometimes. But what motivates that? How does our expressions of anger affect others? Well, in Jesus' life, these moments led to greater understanding for others. In fact, that was probably the purpose, moving them to press further into who God is and how we can join God in seeing God's will be done here on earth. God's will for love, acceptance, restoration, forgiveness, hope, gladness. Can our temper do the same? I think so, but we need God for that. So ask God for that, to grow that fruit, not to justify our anger, but to cause our anger to bring better into this world. You may be surprised. Peace. I just want to encourage you to hit all the like buttons on this video. It helps us to know that you're watching. As well, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page and our Instagram, and do ask how you can be included in one of our tiny village churches.